Mythic rares, off the charts power level. There's only one or two of those entire mythic rares that I don't think could fit and change meta in standard. Now, I'm rating this all in standard. I don't play paper. I don't play commander. I don't play historic. I play standard. All my ratings are based off of standard. The meta right now, okay? FYI. All right, so let's start. Number one, Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines. Okay, 10 out of 10 on name. Just the name alone. Mother of Machines, yes, I love it. Great name, great name. So we got 1 white and 4 generic mana. It's a legendary creature that's a Phyrexian Praetor. It is a mythic rare. It has Vigilance, and it is a 4/7 for 5 mana. I haven't read any of the specials. Already very good. 4 and a white. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Wow. Permanents entering the battlefield that don't cause abilities of permanents your opponents control to trigger. Wow, 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 wow. Holy staple is all I'm going to say. Right here, this is life gain times 2. Imagine this with just a simple one mana Lunarch Veteran, and I don't know, you've got your Voice of the Blessed out on the field, and look, you throw 1 creature. It triggers twice. The voice gets 2 counters for each 1 mana creature you throw down. Or you have Sigurda's Blessing out there, same thing. Instead of 1 life for every white spell, you get 1 life, 1 life. This is just the most basic thought on this card. This makes life gain times 2. Every life gain trigger is twice. Now, there's a lot of other triggers that happen too. For instance, I like my Tekuthal, whatever it's called. Tekuthal draw you a card enchantment. Tekuthal Welcome, I think it's called. 5 mana, you've got a lot of stuff on the board by the time we're casting. I've got Tekuthal Welcome. Let's say I got Tekuthal Welcome, and I got a Wedding Invitation out, and I throw myself a creature that triggers 1 card draw. I now get 2 card draws. My Wedding Security triggers 1 creature. No, it triggers 2 now. It's a permanent entering the battlefield, but that could be an enchantment, that could be a land, that could be a planeswalker, there's a lot that it can do. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents or opponents control to trigger. I don't think the second part here, permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents or opponents control to trigger, is as big of a deal. There will probably be ways that I'm not thinking right now, first time looking at the card, that will make that completely broken. But the first part here, doubling all of your triggers on throwing the permanents. You thought there was life gain already in the meta? Say hello to life gain times 10, folks. Mono white is going to be the new mono black. Boom. 1 card looked at, and that's my first prediction. All right. Second card, Jace. Good to see Jace back. Okay, before I look at it, I'm going to just look away and say, please, please, please tell me you didn't do Jace dirty like you always do. Please tell me you didn't ruin Jace like you always do and make him useless. My wishing aside, we've got 1 blue, 1 blue or pay 2 life, and 2 mana. So it's 4 mana or 3 mana and 2 life. I like that they're adding this to the cards and not just to the special creatures that have that ability. Like they added the Phyrexians that they added in the last 2 sets ago, 3 sets ago, whatever it was. I do like that as a feature. I don't think it's overpowered. I think it's useful. It gives you flexibility. You can get this out. But for 4 mana or 3 mana and 2 life, he's got 5, what do they call it, counters? 5 counters on him. Okay, so for +1ing until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gets -3, -0. That's actually useful. Blue, it doesn't have strong creatures. Being able to attack with your creature and the other creature that could kill it off can't do anything, it's nothing much. -2, target player mills 3 cards. Then if a graveyard has 20 or more cards in it, you draw 3 cards. Otherwise, you draw a card. So -2, target player mills 3 cards, and you draw a card, no matter what. Turn 3, you throw this out, you mill yourself 3 cards. I see this going in my Leer deck immediately. All my Leer decks, boom. Jace is in my Leer decks. Because now I can self-mill myself 3 cards. Hopefully I put some spells in there for Leer. I'm drawing a card anyways. If I have 20 in my graveyard, I draw 3 cards. That's strong. That's good. -X, target player mills 3 times X cards. Useful. This is a very fair card. I hate mill, but this to me is more self-mill for putting spells in your own graveyard so that you can put your Hottie Gens up in power so that you can get your Leer more stuff to do. This to me says it's flexible, and if there's not a lot of other mill cards, we're not going to see the crazy mill decks again, which I'll be glad about. I hate mill. That said, I think this is a fair card. It is a mythic rare. I think this is a balanced card. I don't think it's strong. I think it is a niche card. It's only useful for certain things. But as I said, I can see this, adding this into my Leer deck, just this card alone, 2 Jaces, maybe 3 at most, into my Leer and my Hullbreaker decks. And that could be the difference between them being tier 2 to being tier 1. I think this is a good card. I think it's a fair card. I don't think it's overpowered. I think it's balanced well. And I think it'll see some play in Standard. This will become a staple in all other formats where mill is still a thing, and will make mill decks even worse because, think about this. Late game, your opponent has 9 cards left in their deck because you've been milling, or mid-game I should say, you've been milling the crap out of them with your mill deck. Oh, there's my Jace. Throw the Jace down, -5, mill 3 times, or they got 14 cards in their deck, 15 cards in the deck, mill them 3 times 5. Jace is dead, but guess what? The next draw, they're dead. So I can see this. This could make mill even faster, which is actually not that bad. Yeah, I like that idea, Goon. Goon says if you're playing risky, turn 3 Jin, and then turn 4 mill 15. That would be crazy. Yeah. Or turn 3, take 2 life damage, throw down Jace, mill yourself 3 cards, draw a card to get that Jin. So next turn you can do it and mill 10 cards. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. I don't think you would mill yourself turn 4, mill 15. I think you go turn 4, mill 12. Go -4. And then mill 12. But again, that's very risky. But I do think this is a fair card. I don't think this is going to break the game. I think it's going to see decent play. I think it's going to, in the beginning, see some play. But like I said, it's a niche card. It's going to go in Leer decks. It's going to go in self-mill blue decks, which there aren't a lot of. So it's going to go in the I want my instants and sorceries in the graveyard decks. Or it's going to go into old school mill decks. And we all hate them, so hope those people stop reproducing. No more kids for mill deck players. That would make the world a better place. If mill deck players did not have kids, we might have hope as humanity. All right, next card. Vraska, Betrayals Sting. This is 6 mana or 5 mana and 2 life in black. This is a black card. 1 swamp or 2 swamps and 4, depending on whether you want to hurt yourself. I'm not going to call it completed. I'm going to call it whether you want to hurt yourself. This is the masochism. I don't know why they completely missed it. Instead of calling it completed, they could have called it masochism. Or, what do they call it when you're whipping yourself? What is that called? I can't think of it off the top of my head. I want to say it starts with an F. Flogging. I said it was an F. Flogging. Yeah, they should call it flogging instead of completed flogging. Come on now. Come on now. I give you this information for free, Wizards. I hate you, but I'll still try and make the game better because I love the game. I hate their management. That being said, let's get back to Vraska. Betrayals Sting. Once again, one thing I got to give them credit for, they come up with great names. Okay, she's a legendary planeswalker. She's a mythic rare. She's got 6 counters on her for 6. That's fair right there. Let's look at what she has. For 0, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. You proliferate, which I believe means you put a counter on something. So it technically could be a +1. You draw a card and +1 and lose 1 life. That's fine. I did this before last week, I think on Wednesday, and there were cards that it was talking about oil counters or something like that. So this could save the cards that make you lose the game with the oil counters and stuff. Target creature becomes -2. Target creature becomes a treasure artifact with tap this creature, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color, and loses all other card types and abilities. That's shit. That's really not that great. I mean, you put it on a token creature, I guess. I guess that's for a token creature. -2, you turn a token creature into sacrifice it, add mana of any color. So, like, your 1/1 useless token creatures, or I don't know. I know there's mites, so, I mean, whatever. I don't think that's that strong. -9 is if target player has fewer than 9 poison counters, they get a number of poison counters equal to the difference. So -9 is a win. So this is a cheesy card. It's 6 mana, but this comes out on turn 5. You proliferate it. You do the 0. You proliferate it. It's at 7. You're basically getting it to 9, and you're going -9. It's a poison counter combo deck, and you're basically -9. I win. This is a bullshit card. This is just to push the I win button. So you're going to have to run a lot of Planeswalker removal in the new meta, it looks like. I don't like this card. I don't like any card that's like push button, I win. I do not like that. I do not like push button, I win. No matter how hard it is to get to that, I do not like push button, I win. That is the dumbest thing in video games. Next card. Hopefully it doesn't have the push button, I win feature. So Capricious Hellraiser. Amazing name. Whoever's working with them in the linguistic department, whoever's naming these cards, that person better be getting paid good. Over the last year or two, the names have just gotten amazing. Capricious Hellraiser is a 6-mana card, 3 mountains, 3 red, and 3 anything. It's a Phyrexian dragon, mythic rare. It is a creature. It costs 3 less to cast if you have 9 or more cards in your graveyard. So this works with Jace, self-mill, or you're just a spellcasting deck, so it could come out for 3 mana. It's a 4/4, so at 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer is not really good, but at 3 mana for a 4/4 flyer, it's fine. When it enters the battlefield, exile 3 cards at random from your graveyard. I do like random features. That's one thing that Hearthstone gets better than Magic the Gathering, is random is really cool. Not being able to choose makes it a little more like chaotic, and there's not enough chaos in Magic the Gathering. There's too much precision. Exile 3 cards at random from your graveyard, choose a non-creature, non-land card from among them, and copy it. Oh shit, that's even better. So it's not bad. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. This is a strong card. It's not a game-breaking card, but this is a strong card. This is going to try and make Big Red work again. This is going to slot into... I think people are going to try and do dragon decks again. And I don't like dragons, but I feel bad that Mono Red has turned into just Weenie White. Mono Red has become what Weenie White was. White has turned to all life gain and build herself up. And Mono Red is just like, I got a bunch of weenies that are going to die, and I'm either going to win by turn 5 or I'm going to scoop and I'm gone. So if you can add a little bit more power on the back end of Red, good. Do I think this card's going to break the game? No. Do I think this card will see some play? Yes. Do I think it's going to become a staple? No. Having to have 9 cards in your graveyard in today's meta with how fast everything is, the value's not there with it. So, next card. Nissa. Nissa is a whole shit ton of mana. Is that 4 forests and 3 random mana? So that's 7 mana, or you flog yourself twice. We're not calling it completed. We're calling it flogging. We're calling it flogging. I want every one of you who go on other people's streams, whenever anybody says completed, say, no, it's flogging. We, as a community, need to rename this flogging so that the executives at Wizards of the Coast are going, why is everybody calling it flogging? We called it completed. Why are they using a different word? Because it makes more sense. You're flogging yourself. You're hurting yourself. Okay. Anyways, I digress. So 7 mana or 5 mana and 4 damage to yourself. Legendary Planewalker Nissa. Okay, bringing back Nissa. She is 7. She has 7 counters on her. So for +1, you create an XX green Phyrexian horror creature where X is Nissa's ascended animist loyalty. What the f? So that's considered loyalty. So +1, and you create... So turn 5, you take 4 damage, you throw it out, and you create an 8/8. That's pretty strong. Every turn, 8/8, 9/9, 10/10, 11/11. That's pretty freaking strong. -1, destroy target artifact or enchantment. That is really good. This is really good. It's -7. They missed the 7 part. -7 until end of turn. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for each forest you control and gain trample. This is a really strong planeswalker, but it's 7 mana or 4 damage and 5 mana. This is going to make mono green a lot stronger. This will replace the other one. Yeah, green's definitely back on the menu, especially with all the strong green creatures. Green Stompy's back. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Turn 5, throw this out, +1. You got an 8/8 out there. Next turn, -7, so you're at 1 left. And every creature on the board, if they don't wipe, every creature on the board gets +1/+1 for every forest you control, which is probably 5 at that point, maybe 6. And... so you +6 every creature and gain trample. Get ready for mono green to beat you on turn 6 over and over and over again until people cry for this to be banned. All this is going to do, it's going to make wipes and it's going to make aggro that much more important. You're going to just, when you see green, when you see mono green, you're going to just have to remove every single mono green creature over and over and over again. You thought there was a lot of removal in standard now? 6 to 8 removal is going to turn to 8 to 20, no, 8 to 12 removal, let's say. If this takes off. Now, it is 7 mana, technically, if you don't do damage to yourself. I don't think this is game-breaking, but I think this definitely does make mono green stronger than everything except for mono black. Mono black is still the strongest, just because the 2 best cards are in black. I don't care what cards they make in this one. You're not making a better card than Sheoldred. You're not making a better creature than Sheoldred. That is the best creature that has ever been designed in Magic. And I don't think there's a better card than Invoke Despair. 5 mana, it does everything you need. You can wipe 3 things, an enchantment, a planeswalker, and a creature for 5 mana, right? So you could wipe 15 mana or plus, or you could do 6 damage and draw 3 cards. Invoke Despair should have been banned instead of Meat Hook Massacre. Bottom line. But this does make mono green be able to maybe take down mono black from that mono tier list, I guess you would say. I don't think it's going to break the game because you got to take 4 damage to yourself. But I do think it's going to be I think this is going to be a pain in the ass. Once again, we're going to have, there's a lot of strong planeswalkers. We're going to have to run a lot of planeswalker removal on our decks, or a lot of do damage to planeswalkers, that kind of stuff. All right, Phyrexian Vindicator, the next one. All right, this is 4 white, so this is a mono white deck, more than likely. It's a Phyrexian Horror for 4 white. It's a 5/5 flyer. Already this, I haven't looked at anything. This thing is already going to be a staple in mono white. This is going to make mono white even stronger. They already have AO. They already have Sanctuary Warning. They already got Elspeth. They already got Wandering Emperor as far as like the top end. This is going to slot in with Wandering Emperor in the 4 slot with everybody. 4 mana for a 5/5 flyer. I mean, white is already flying. It's not an angel, so it's not necessarily going to go in the angel decks, but they might throw them in there just because they have that artifact. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head that can add, gives something to every creature at the beginning of the turn. But anyway, so let's read what this does. So it's already going to be a staple without even reading what the card does. If damage would be dealt to it, prevent it. When it's prevented, it deals that much damage to any other target. I think this is going to be more powerful than people think. Dies to removal, so it's not. This is not going to game break. This is not going to break the game. It's just a creature. But think about this. I'm an Orzhov deck. I get this thing out. I go March. I go -4 on the March, or -5, or whatever mana I have with my March the next turn. Whatever damage I have, I throw this out. The next turn, March. The Black March, which does minus whatever damage to creature or planeswalker, and you get that much life. You do however much mana you have to this Vindicator, your own creature, -5, -8, -10. You gain that much life, and that much damage you put on the other player, or you put on the top creature, or you put on their planeswalker. This card might break the game. If you could get the 4 white out in a multicolored deck to put it out, which with Trinomes and dual lands is not that hard. I mean, Invoke Despair is 4 swamp +1, and you get that out in Esper decks and Orzhov decks. Like, it's possible. So this is not just going to be only mono white. I think mono white's going to love this because it's going to slot right in with what they're doing, and it's coming out on turn 4 every time for them. But I think it's those tricky decks where it's going to really, really hurt. That's what I think. I'm going to try it in my Orzhov decks. I'll be honest with you. I think I'm going to try this in my Orzhov decks and try and use the March, what I just told you guys. I'm going to try and March the next turn after it goes out on the board. I'm going to have some Loren's Escapes to protect it. So if they try to remove it, we protect it. And then you do March on this. You attack your own creature, gain life, and do as much damage as you gain in life on the other player or the other creature or whatever. I think that combo is going to be strong. There's other combos you could do too. Other things that do damage. Brother's Hood End does 3 damage to every creature and planeswalker. That's going to now do 3 damage back to you if you do that on this. This card here might turn out to be one of the strongest cards, if not the strongest cards. It dies to removal, but remember, Sheoldred dies to removal too. What happens when Sheoldred comes out on the deck? Instant remove. Your game's over if you can't get Sheoldred off the deck. Okay, it prevents the damage. I mean, end of the game, I get this out. I got 10 mana. I do 10 damage. Okay, so I don't get 10 life, but I can do 10 damage directly to my opponent by attacking my own creature, and my creature stays out there. Or let's just be more realistic. Let's say I have 6 mana. I get this out on turn 5. I throw down a land. I got 6 mana. I do Black March on it. for 4. I do Black March on it for 4 to keep the 1 mana up with the Loren's Escape so that if they have removal, it stays alive. I do 4 damage to it. I don't get my life gain, but I do 4 damage to the opponent's creature without having, or I do 4 damage directly to the opponent. Like, I think there's other things besides March that does damage, but it's going to be strong. I don't think it's going to break the game, but I think this might be one of the strongest, if not the strongest creatures in the new deck. I'm only on number 6, so I'm not going to get ahead of myself. But these are the mythic rares. They're typically the strongest cards. I think Phyrexian Vindicator is going to change the meta a little bit. I don't think it's going to break the meta. It's not going to be like Shieldred did. Shieldred absolutely came in and just took a hacksaw to the meta. Shieldred is so strong that Shieldred literally changed everything in the meta. I don't think it's that strong, but I think it's going to tweak it a little bit. Next one, Ichormoon Gauntlet. This is 3 mana, 1 of them blue, 2 of them anything. It's an artifact, mythic rare artifact. I did see somebody talking about this card. I think it was a Magic Historian. I didn't know he was going to do any spoilers. Planeswalkers you control have 0 proliferate and -12. Take an extra turn after this one. Boo. I hate extra turns. Extra turns ruin the game, but it's -12. So it's not an All Runes Epiphany bullshit. -12 is a lot. But with 0 proliferate, I mean, we've already seen crazy Planeswalkers. Like, this makes Esper stronger. Think about this. You can put this on any one of your Planeswalkers forget the new Planeswalkers. The Planeswalkers that are already dominating meta in the Esper decks. Your Teferis, your Wandering Emperors, your Sorin? What about that, huh? Lily, all of the Planeswalkers that are currently in the meta and doing lots of damage, all of those, this is going to be strong. It doesn't break the game. I hate that's -12, but it's fair. Like I said before, Infernal Grasp and Black out. Hero's Downfall back in. I'm saying it right now. Infernal Grasp and Go for the Throat are coming out of your deck and you're running Hero's Downfall because there's going to be so many Planeswalkers. You're going to need Planeswalker removal. This isn't going to break the game. It's interesting. It's going to make Planeswalkers even stronger. But once again, it's all Planeswalkers. It's not put on one Planeswalker and it loses. It's not an enchantment. This is an artifact. So Super Friends is going to be... I'm definitely going to get this and try and run some Super Friends decks, because if you've been paying attention lately, I am going the control route, folks. The meta is so aggro, I'm going control. I'm anti the trend. I will definitely get a couple of these and try and run them in some Super Friends decks. I can see this going my Esper deck for sure. I can see this being good. Proliferate just means you add a counter anywhere. It doesn't have to be on the Planeswalkers. Gauntlet's good. I don't think it breaks the game. I think it's a fair card. It's strong. It's a mythic rare. That's what mythic rares should be. Should be strong cards that really are hard to deal with, but they don't break the game. Phyrexian Obliterator. This is the counter to that white one. 4 swamps. Mono black. Gets stronger. A Phyrexian horror creature that is 5/5 with trample. Okay. 5/5 trample? Why not menace? Menace is the black thing. Trample is the green thing. Trample in black? Oh boy. I have a feeling that 3 or 4 of these will be going in my mono black deck. All right, let's see what it says. When a source deals damage to it, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. Oh god. You can't block it. You have to remove it. Once again, I see this in Orzhov. I see this in Golgari. Why Golgari? Why Orzhov? 1 mana Loren's Escape. Or I see this in Dimir. 1 mana Loren's Escape. Hexproof, indestructible. Or green, you have Tamio's Safekeeping. Creature gains indestructible and hexproof for the turn, gain 2 life. Or in blue, you have Shore Up, Slip Out the Back, that kind of stuff. I can see this, like Shore Up stops the kill spell on it, right? Hexproof. But the difference is, this doesn't say it prevents all the damage. This is not as strong as that white one. The white one prevents all the damage and does that much damage back to anywhere else. So you can still kill this one. And if it's late game, you just get rid of 5 lands. Maybe you have 5 treasures. You got 3 treasures in this. Correct, Goon. If you play with fire on this thing, you got to sacrifice permanents. Not necessarily creatures. A permanent is land, artifact, enchantment, or creature, or planeswalker. But here's the thing, if you block it with Titan of Industry for 7 damage, yes. These Phyrexian horrors need straight removal. But, once again, if I've got 9, 11 lands out, it's the end of a game, and this thing comes out, and I block it with my 7/7 Titan of Industry and do 7 damage, I just sacrifice 7 lands, and I'm good with that. It's still going to be super strong. It's got trample. Trample in black is going to be strong. I am going to try and throw this into my mono black deck. Probably not 4. But here's the problem I have with these cards, okay? What is this card missing? And what is the other one missing here? We're going to go look at these two. Can you tell me what these two cards are missing? They're missing the word legendary on them. Why do they not make these game-breaking creatures legendary? You can have 4 of these out on the deck. Hullbreaker Horror, same thing. Why wasn't it legendary? Should be legendary. I think they're strong. I don't think it's ridiculous. They die to removal, but they should be legendary. That's my only beef. All will be 1. Here we go. Red. 2 red and 3 of anything, so it's 5 mana. It's an enchantment. It's mythic rare. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a permanent or a player, all will be 1 deals that much damage to target opponent. Creature an opponent controls, or a planeswalker an opponent controls. I like that last bit, planeswalker control. This is trying to make red more of a big thing. Who cares about the story? It's good, but it's too much mana. It's okay. You know what? I'm going to say, this is no good. It's 5 mana. Whenever you put a counter on a permanent or player, so you don't got a lot of counters going on in red, so it's going to have to go in different multicolored decks. You combine this with that Nissa from earlier. You get this out on turn 5. You put Nissa out on turn 6. -7. Boom. Put pluses on everything, and you literally just win the game. I don't think this is a great card, but I think there will be ways to combo this card into being cheesy, I win, like I said with Nissa. But it's not going to be game-breaking. Once again, you throw this card out, it's obviously turn 5, 4-5. But I go, invoke Despair next turn, and it's gone. Your combo's gone. 2 mana Sanctify, remove enchantment. There's lots of things that remove enchantments. Not as many that remove artifacts, but a lot of things remove enchantments. We're just going to have a lot of more situational removal for enchantments and artifacts. I don't think it's going to break the game. I think people are going to try it and going to realize it's not as strong as they think. It will be situational. I don't think it's going to get much play, though. Tyrranax Rex. All right. Tyrranax Rex. Big boy. It's 7 mana for an 8/8. 3 of them got to be green, so it doesn't have to be in mono green, but mono green's already going to be a thing. Spell can't be countered. I like that with big creatures. Trample, Ward 4, and Haste. Well, it comes out on turn 7. Ward 4 is not game-breaking. Haste is. Toxic 4. Players dealt combat damage by this creature also get 4 poison counters? Oh my. This is what mono green needs. Mono green needs something like this. I'm not a fan of poison counters, I'll be honest. If they don't have a way to remove poison counters, I don't think this is going to break the game. I think this is going to be fun. It's going to be cool. It's going to be one of those, you throw it out on turn 7, it's an 8/8, and finishes the deal for you. You got 6 poison counters on the enemy, you wipe the deck, you throw this out the next turn, boom. If they can't kill it with the Ward 4, it's gone. But it's turn 7 once again, so I throw my Hero's Downfall with my 7 mana, I save it, and I throw my Hero's Downfall with my 7 mana, and I pay the extra 4 to kill it off straight out. You can't counter it, but you can remove it. The mono blue tempo decks are going to instant scoop when they see that one. I don't think it breaks the game. I think it's cool. I think that's a fair card. I think that's what green should have. Green should have big creatures like this. I like it. I don't think it needs the Toxic 4. I think that's overkill. It's going to get play in mono green Stumpy. Let's be honest. So Mondrak. Glory Dominus. This is 4 mana for a legendary creature. Okay, this one's legendary. 2 white and 2 of anything. It's a legendary Phyrexian Horror. 4/4 for 4 mana, so it's even. If 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of these tokens are created instead. Okay. 1 white and 2 floggings, or just 3 white. 1 and 2 white, or 1 and 2 floggings, or any combination of that. Sacrifice 2 other artifacts and/or creatures. Put an indestructible counter on it. This is really strong. So you don't throw this on turn 4. You throw this on turn 5. You do 4 damage to yourself. You sacrifice 2 treasures or 2 1/1 wedding security human creatures. And it doesn't say this is only sorcery. So you can throw this down. You throw wedding security down turn 3 or turn 4. You throw it down turn 3, something turn 4. You throw this down turn 5. You could throw it down turn 4, but then it might die. You throw it down turn 5, hope that they don't have removal. You create your 2 tokens instead of 1 on the wedding security, sacrifice them, and it's indestructible. Rabble rousing, yes, exactly. But you know what? Indestructible does not stop exile. It's still a creature, so it's still gonna die to a Wandering Emperor. It's still gonna die to a soul transfer. It's still gonna die to any sort of exile. I don't think it's going to break the game. I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to make things tough. I think there is a black one too. I think it's going to give white a little more power from creature side. It makes you have to sacrifice something to become indestructible, which I don't like, But the fact that you make twice of tokens instead, rabble-rousing, as Kenny Roberts points out here, Goon, there's going to be more soldier spam. You throw this in the soldier deck, I throw out the Resolute Reinforcement, and for 2 mana on flash, I create 3 1/1s instead of 2. And then 1 mana and flog yourself twice. You sacrifice those 2, and boom, it's indestructible. I don't think it fits in the soldier deck because it's not a soldier. We all hope that we see less soldiers, let's be honest. I don't think it's going to break the game. It's a fair card. Tekuthal, Inquiry, Dominus. Mythic Rare. So far, we don't have any really crap Mythic Rares, and that's the way it should be. Other than that, all is 1 red. Red got shafted, but whatever. It was a good idea for the enchantment. So this is 4 mana for 3/5 in blue. All right. 2 blue and 2 anything. It's a legendary Phyrexian Horror. Here's our legendary horrors. It flies. That's blue. Fair enough. If you would proliferate twice instead. Okay, so it can become indestructible, but it's 1 and 2 blues or flog itself to remove 3 counters from among other artifacts, creatures, and or planeswalkers you control. Put an indestructible counter on. I'm going to do this with all these cards. I'm going to tell you scenarios that I see immediately upon reading the card so your brains can keep going. Tekuthal, turn 4. Once again, this one comes out on turn 5, not 4, right? Azorius deck. I got Wedding Security out on turn 3. I do something on turn 4. I don't know, maybe I throw the Wandering Emperor on their turn and exile their creature, or Wandering Emperor and put out a Samurai, right? Turn 5 comes, I throw this out. Now, what's happened? 2 turns, I let the Wedding Security, it creates another creature, or draws a card, whatever. Wedding Security is now on 3 counters. You take 2 counters from Wedding Security, and it becomes indestructible. And it's a flyer. This will fit into an Azorius flyer deck very well. You could put this in an Esper flyer deck as well. Raffine puts counters on creatures every time they attack. What is it called? When they draw a card and get rid of a card, the dynamic that Raffine has. What is it called? Connive. There, thank you. Cards with Connive will go really well with this. Cards that automatically get countered. You don't need planeswalkers with this. If you would proliferate twice, obviously, you're going to get stuff with proliferate. So this goes with that artifact that basically gives all planeswalkers 0 proliferate. Now they can proliferate twice for 0. So in other words, they can get +2 any turn. All of your planeswalkers. Like I said, this is going in Azorius. This is going in Esper. Yes. Esper Legends, definitely. And it might bring back the Raffine. It might bring back just the pure Raffine deck. Who knows? It might go in a good in a flyer type deck, for instance. Okay. Think this. You're doing your life gain type deck, right? So I got a Lunarch Veteran turn 1, Lunarch Veteran turn 2, or Elesh turn 2. Both put +ups. Turn 3, you throw out your Voice of the Blessed. Boom, gets 2 counters right there. Boom, throw out Tekuthal. Turn 4 or turn 5. No, turn 4, you throw out another creature. Boom, your voice goes up. Boom, throw Cthulhu out. After combat, after you do your 6/6 damage, you throw Tekuthal out, you plus up twice more, you take 2 of them from the voice, and you only got to take 1 from somewhere else. This is going to be really strong. This is way stronger than the last one, Mondrak. I would rather have this than Mondrak, because a 3/5 flyer that's indestructible is pretty tough to deal with. All right, Drivnod. This is 5 mana. This is another legendary Phyrexian Horror. Drivnod is Carnage Dominus. All hail Carnage Dominus! The name alone. Okay. Name 8/3. Oh, what the 5 mana for an 8/3. Legendary. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers 1 more time? Hello, Braids! This is going in my Hours of Sacrifice deck. Exile 3 creature cards from your graveyard for 2 swamp or 2 flogs, and you put an indestructible counter on it. 8/3 indestructible. Hello! Like it. But as I said, this is perfect for the sacrifice decks. Braids is out turn 3. I've got my Wedding Security out to create the tokens, or I'm creating tokens with Wandering Emperor, or I throw out a Lunarch Veteran, or a Tenacious Underdog. That the cycle every turn, I throw the Tenacious Underdog for 4, sacrifice it to Braids, make the opponent have to sacrifice a creature, or they take 2 damage and I draw a card. Now you throw this thing out, that triggers twice. So they have to sacrifice 2 creatures for every 1, or take 4 damage and I get 2 cards. This is going to make that Orzhov Sacrifice deck possibly tier 1. I don't know, because there's so many strong cards so far that I think we're going to see the meta become probably 60-70% all new cards. They're losing so much money, they just took the power creep up. They just basically said, oh, there's an 8-ball of Coke on the power level, let's go. That's what they did. Everything I've seen is just stepped up. Like, haha, you thought Sheoldred was overpowered. Check this out. Do I think this is going to break the game? No. Do I think this is going to make people scoop really quickly when I throw this out after they've, destroyed, they've killed off, they've killed off a Lunarch veteran, and then they killed off a tenacious underdog, and they killed off something else. Yeah. This is going to be super strong. I'm going to buy a bunch of packs with my gold when I get there. I think I'm going to buy 10 more packs in Brothers War to get the gold thing, but I might wait. If they do the buy 10 packs, you get the gold pack with the new set, oh God, I'm going to spend all of my gold on that. But this is going to be a good card. It's not going to break the game, but this looks good. All right, who do we got here? 4. We got somebody does not have a new phone. Can you do this? Can you do this with your phone next time, buddy? Wipe it off a little bit. So we don't have like a picture from like a Nokia flip phone from 2006. That'd be nice. Solphim, Dominus of Mayhem. Another great name, Dominus of Mayhem. I want to be the Dominus of Mayhem. 4 mana, 2 red, 2 anything. 4/5/4, already pretty fair. Creature Legendaria. This is in Portuguese. I can read Spanish. I cannot read Portuguese. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage to that player or that permanent instead. Play with fire for 1 mana, now does 4 damage. This literally doubles the damage. Play with fire. Lightning Strike now does 6 damage. That's non-combat damage, right? With Mechanized, instead of 6 on a Lightning Strike, it does 8. This is definitely going in the mono-red aggro decks because that's non-combat damage. Yeah, it's an easy finisher. This is going to replace the 4 mana. I never can remember the names of the cards. I can't think of the name of it anyways. But yeah, this is going to go in. This is going to go in mono red aggro. 1 plus 2 red, or 1 and flog yourself twice. You discard 2 cards, put an indestructible counter on it. Yeah, it's definitely a mono red finisher. We're not losing mono red, guys. Mono red aggro just got stronger. I hate to break it to you. Turn 5, you're dead with mono red pretty much every turn now. Zopandrel, Dominus of Hunger, is 2 greens and 5, so this is more expensive. It's 7 mana for a 4/6. Green's getting the shaft here. It's a legendary Phyrexian horror with reach. That's good. At the start of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until the end of combat. Holy crap! You don't even need that. You don't even need the enchantment anymore. For 2 flogs, sacrifice 2 creatures, put an indestructible counter. Oh my God! Mono green Stompy, baby. Mono green Stompy is going to be strong as hell. I don't think this is stronger than the other one. I think this one here, the red one, is going to fit so well in what mono red already does. This is going to slot right in. You thought there was a lot of mono red in the meta right now? Say hello to 75% of mono red once people figure out that this card added to mono red burns. Yeah. This Carnage Dominus is going to be great in multicolor decks more than a mono black deck. It does change it, but red doesn't have card draw is the problem they have. Okay, so I'm going to compare all 5 of these. These are all obviously a set. There's 1 in each color, right? Let's grade these 5 here. Mondrak, Gloria Dominus is the worst of them. You're 5 out of 5. Number 5 out of these cards. Okay? I'm going to say Zopandrel. No, we're going to say Tekuthal is number 4. Drivnod is number 3 because it requires a specific deck where a creature dying causes a triggered ability. Zopandrel is number 2 because it just doubles, mono green Stompy, it just doubles all of your creatures' toughness and power every single combat. It's 7 mana, but that's the only reason why it's number 2. And number 1 is clearly the 4 mana Solphim. Yeah, that's clearly the best. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they're all strong. And Guna's right, usually by turn 4 or 5, mono red is dead in the water. Well, they either win the game or they're dead in the water by turn 4 or 5. They're either going to win and you're gone, or you've got out your Sheoldred, or you got enough life gain to survive. Like, you wipe the deck and then they're like, oh great, I'm on the draw. No, I get what you're saying. That is definitely going to change it. So you get this out there, you got to discard 2 cards. So you got to have 2, you got to keep cards in your hand. So comes down on turn 4, I remove it. If you throw this down on turn 4, it's gone. Like I said, folks, there's going to be a lot more removal in decks. decks. So let's keep going here. Eternal Wanderer. Oh, we're now into rares. So we went through the mythic rares. Mythic rares, off the charts power level. There's only one or two of those entire mythic rares that I don't think could fit and change meta in standard. Now, I'm rating this all in standard. I don't play paper. I don't play commander. I don't play historic. I play standard. All my ratings are based off of standard. The meta right now, okay? FYI, I know standard. I'm just talking about standard. In arena, I'm not talking about paper at all. We move on. Eternal Wanderer. 6 mana, 2 of them white for a Planeswalker. That is legendary. All Planeswalkers are legendary. 5 loyalty. No more than one creature can attack the Eternal Wanderer each combat. Whoa, baby. Super friends. I like that. I like it. I like that it's just rare and it's not mythic rare, even though I have more mythic rare wilds. So let's see what it does. +1, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner control at the beginning of that player's next end step. Holy crap, that is strong. With all of these cards that you throw out with prototype for 3 mana or 2 mana, you just exile them, they come back. 3 mana, I cast my Phyrexian Flesh Scourger, throw this thing out, attack with it for 3, do my 3 damage, give my 3 health, plus up the Wanderer, exile it, it comes back as a 7/5, a lot harder to remove. 0, create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with double strike. Oh my god, with double strike? That's not even a minus, that's 0. Like, literally every turn you can just pump out a 2/2 white samurai with double strike. I mean, this exile also works on opponents. They got one blocker. You get rid of the 1 blocker. You attack. That blocker comes back, but you do all your damage. Like, there's lots of use of that. -4. For each player, choose a creature that player controls. Each player sacrifices all creature they control, not chosen this way. It's a wipe for -4. This goes in with the Liliana type decks. I mean, let's be honest. It's -4, but it's still, like, you throw down turn 6, you -4. I mean, this is going to be super big in Commander, I can tell you that right now. For each player, choose a creature that player controls. So you choose what creature. I pick the weakest creature, and they sacrifice everything but their weakest creature. That seems pretty strong. Rating on this card, super strong. It's 6 mana, so it's not going to be easy to get this card out. The Eternal Wanderer is going to get a lot of play. These Planeswalkers are very strong. It has lots of uses, and I'm sure people other than me are going to figure out ways to make this a super strong card. But for 0, creating a 2/2 white samurai creature token with double strike every turn without having to go minus, that's really strong. I don't know how else to say it. This matches up so good with the Wandering Emperor, which comes out on turn 4 or turn 5. You throw this on turn 6. Now you create a samurai army. I'm going to be able to do no creature Super Friends decks a lot easier with these Planeswalkers. That much I can tell you. It's a good card. All right, so Mindsplice Apparatus. This is an artifact for 3 and 1 blue, so 4 mana total. That flashes, an artifact that flashes. At the beginning of your upkeep, put an oil counter on it. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each oil counter on it. Oh, wow, that's strong. So turn 4, you put it in your control deck. You got 4 mana sitting open on their turn. They don't do anything, or they don't do anything you don't need to counter or remove. You decide to throw this, and then all of your instant and sorcery spells are 1 less next turn, and then the following turn, they're 2 less. Yeah. It's only the 1 generic mana less. So this is going to make spells like Thirst for Discovery cost 1 mana after 2 turns. Thirst for Discovery, draw 3 cards, discard 1 land or 2 other, are going to cost 1 mana after 2 turns if this is out on the deck. This is going to fit in very well with all of the mono blue and all of the blue affiliated control decks. This is going to be a good card. It's going to get better over time. This is going to become a pain in the ass, but hopefully this is strong enough to make control be able to stand up with non-control decks, with the aggro. I don't know, because it's 4 mana. The problem with control decks, folks, is that turn 4, you're already almost dead. So I think people are going to try this out. They're going to find out it's good, but it's not good enough to take more than 2 or 3 slots in your deck. Maybe you throw 1 of in your deck. I might throw 1 of this like you do with the Celestis. Throw 1 of it in your deck might be worthwhile, but I don't think you want to put too many of it in your deck. Karumonix, the Rat King. 3 mana, 2 of them swamp. It's a 3/3 legendary rat. Bring the rats on, baby. Bring them on. Toxic 1. Ooh, I don't like Toxic, but maybe I'll run some Toxic just for the fun of it. Other rats have Toxic 1. We're going to have to see how many rats are in the deck that are strong. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of rat cards from among them and put them in your hand, with the rest at the bottom of your library in random order. Basically, you have to build your deck with all rats. You got to see the other rats, but you put 3 or 4 of this in your deck, The way the shuffler works right now, you know they group them all together. You throw this down on the battlefield. You look at the top 5 cards. 2 or 3 of them are the other duplicates. You got backups. I'm just saying. It's okay. All right, so here we go. Koth, Fire of Resistance. 4 mana. It's another Planeswalker. There's a lot of Planeswalkers in this set, folks. A lot of Planeswalkers. And so far, they've all been good. Some ridiculously strong, but they've all been worth trying. In specific decks, at least. All right, so we got 4 mana for 4 loyalty. 2 of them got to be fire. 2 of them got to be red. It's a legendary Planeswalker, Koth. +2, search your library for a basic mountain card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Okay, this is for big red. -3, it deals damage to target creature equal to the number of mountains you control. Ooh. Loaded deck with mountains. They're trying to make big red happen again. I don't think that's that strong, though. Comes out on turn 4. What, you -3 and you do 4 damage? -7, you get an emblem. Whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, this emblem deals 4 damage to any target. That emblem is strong, and you can get there in 2 turns. Search your library for a mountain card, search your library for a mountain card, +8. Now you go -7. Boom. I'm in 30 mountain deck, baby. I see this going in a Gruul deck. Listen to this. I believe it's a Zuzas that you throw down. It's 2 mana, 1 green, 1 anything. That you can throw additional land down from your hand. And then in the next turn, it gives you 3 life. Load this with Azuzas. Load this with anything that ramps to throw extra land down. It's not going to go in a mono red deck. This is going to go in a Gruul deck because you can ramp with a Gruul deck. You get this thing out. You got to keep it alive, but you get it up to that 8. Boom. Now, anytime you throw a mountain down, 4 damage to any target, so you can do it to the other player, you can do it to the creatures. I do like the card. I don't think it's going to break the game. Once again, it dies to removal. I think it's going to be interesting. Now, I'm not going to spin any rares on this, but if I happen to open 1 or 2, I might try a Gruul land deck. There's already stuff in green, but there's a artifact in green that you throw down a land and you put a +1 on any creature. So you have that combined with this, combined with Azuzas, which lets you, when you throw Azuzas, throw an additional land down. Like, I can already see a synergy building with a toss as many lands out to win the game. I do like it. I agree with Kenny Roberts here. I like this. I don't think it's going to break the game. I think it's going to be for 1 or 2 specialty decks. It's interesting. I don't think it's going to get a lot of play, but it'll be interesting to try. Bloated Contaminator. Okay, so this is a Phyrexian Beast. This is another rare. It is 3 mana, 1 of them green, 2 of them anything, for a 4/4 creature with trample. Already super strong. 3 mana for a 4/4 trample with Toxic 1. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. The proliferate is too strong. Choose any number of permanents and or players and then give each another counter. This doesn't do Toxic 1, this does Toxic 2, because every time it does Toxic 1, when it does damage to the player, you pick that player and you do 2, and then you pick your Planeswalker and you give him another loyalty counter, and you pick anything that has a +1 counter. I think proliferate is going to be too strong. The power creep's going to be out of control. This is possibly going to break the game. Throw this, once again, Gruul deck. You've got Restless Stormseeker out on the deck. You throw it out for 3 mana on turn 4, and the Stormseeker gives its +1 and the haste to the Bloated Contaminator. Yeah, proliferate is going to be a mistake in the sense that it's going to break the game. But you have to understand something. They're doing this because they want everybody to buy the new stuff. The only way they can do that is make all the new stuff better than everything else. The power creep is just going to exponentially increase until we get to a point where it's going to be 1 mana, you win the game. Like, that's what it's going to be. It'll be interesting to see the meta change and everybody trying to dump in and find what is going to work. But all of those mythic rares are ridiculous. So what is this? White Sun Twilight. I like cards like this that have X. 2 white and X. It's a sorcery. You gain X life, create X 1/1 colorless mites with Toxic 1, and this creature can't block. If X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. Oh god. 7 mana white, plus you get 7 mites. This goes in all of your wipe decks. You got all your depopulates, you got your farewells. Now you throw this in there too, because this goes in the 2 slot. It's counted by the shuffler in the 2 slot. Although technically you want to do it in the 7 slot, because you cast it for 7, you destroy all other creatures. It pulls in your hand in the 2 slot, and you can use it early if you want to throw some toxic on your opponent, or you keep it as a wipe. If it comes late, you use it as a wipe. I think this is going to be really strong. It's a sorcery, but it's a wipe. Wipes are sorceries. I'm sorry, a 7 mana wipe that also gives you 5 creatures? That's ridiculously strong. Okay, so there's all these, there's a Twilight in every color. So we're going to rate all of these again. based on how strong I think they are. That's pretty strong. So let's see the Blue Sun's Twilight. This is the blue one. It's 2 islands and an X, the same kind of formula. Sorcery, gain control of target creature with mana value X or less. If X is 5 or more, create a token. That's a copy of that creature. That's just lame. I think that's shit. That's horrible. It's not even worth it. Black Sun Twilight. This is 1 swamp plus X. So this is already better, and it's an instant. Already good. Up to 1 target creature gets -X until end of turn. If X is 5 or more, return a creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This one is nuts. You are 100% correct here. Ho, ho, ho. They attack with whatever. They got 5 toughness or less. 6 mana. I kill it. And the shielder they killed off earlier comes back onto the battlefield on their turn. This is definitely going in almost every mono black deck. It works on 2 and 2 against certain creatures. It works on 2, 3, or 4 against pretty much every creature. This is good for control decks. I don't think this is going to replace Cut Down or Go for the Throat or Infernal Grasp, but as far as creature removal goes, but I think I'm going to use it because if you don't have a lot of creatures, this is great. Because you know Shielder's going to die, so you get Shieldered back out for 6 mana. You kill off one of their creatures and get Shieldered back. That's pretty good. It is pretty good, though. Red Sun's Twilight. Apparently another person who does not have a good phone. It's 2 red plus X. It's a sorcery. Destroy up to X target artifacts. If X is 5 or more, for each artifact destroyed this way, create a token that's a copy of it. These tokens gain haste. This is even worse than the blue one. The blue one is shit. This is even worse than the blue one. That is just awful. Green Sun's Twilight. Sorcery. 1 green plus X. Reveal the top X plus 1 cards of your library. Choose a creature card or a land card from among. So you can choose a creature card and a land card, or you can choose a creature card or a land card. So you can get 2 cards for 2 mana. Boom. I cast this for 2 mana. I look at the top 2 cards. One's a creature, one's a land. They're both in my hand. 2 mana, I just drew 2 cards. This is strong. Put those cards in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. If X is 5 or more, instead put the chosen cards onto the battlefield or into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. This is really strong. Mono green is getting love. Okay, so we'll rate these. I think the Green Sun's Twilight is the best of all of these for one simple reason. It's 1 plus X, and it's very useful for 2 mana, for 3 mana, for 4 mana, for 5 mana, for 6 mana. Like, wherever you go with this, and you don't need it to be 7 mana. This White Sun's Twilight is strong, but it needs to be 7 mana for it to wipe. You already have 4 mana wipes. You already got 6 mana wipes. You got less than that if you do Vanquish. So I think Green Sun's Twilight's the strongest. I think White Sun's Twilight is the second strongest because remember you're gaining life and creating X, so you can throw this for 4 mana, put 2 1/1 poison counter mites and gain 2 life, pump up whatever, like it's a life gain too. So I do think this is the strongest. White Sun's Twilight is a little bit stronger, I think, than Black Sun's Twilight. Because Black Sun's Twilight, it has a ceiling. Black Sun Twilight is probably better because it's an instant. It's the only one that's an instant. It's more useful in the middle range, like 3, 4 on the X. Green Sun's Twilight's the best because it's useful for any X. White Sun's, it's the best card, but you need to use 7 mana. Blue Sun's Twilight is the 4th worst because at least you get something out of it. Red Sun's Twilight is one of the shittiest cards I've ever seen printed. Destroy artifacts. Oh my god. Destroy X artifacts. Who cares about that? No. Okay. Skrelv. Skrelv or Skrelv? What do you think? Defector Mite. 1 mana. It's 1 white. It's a legendary artifact creature. Phyrexian Mite. It's toxic 1. It can't block. For white or a flogging and tap, you choose a color. Another target creature you control gains toxic 1 and hexproof from that color until the end of the turn. It can't be blocked by creatures of that color this turn. It's going to be too easy to remove. I think people are going to try to make it work, but it's good in the sense that you can make whatever creature you want do damage and get toxic 1, but it's only hexproof from that color. So if the creatures are, I don't know, let's say white and it's an Orzhov deck, the creatures out are white, so you say, oh, it's hexproof from white. Oh, I've got a black removal, I just kill it off. It's only hexproof from that color. It's a strong card, but I don't think it's going to break anything. Mites are going to be fun to play with, but I don't think it's going to change much. All right, Encroaching Mycosynth. 4 mana, 1 blue, 3 of anything. It's an artifact. Non-land permanents you control are artifacts in addition to their other types. So this might make that red card worthwhile if it takes over, but I don't think that's much. The same is true for permanent spells you control and non-land permanents. This is absolutely worthless. Other than like making everything an artifact, what, 4 mana to make everything an artifact except for your lands? I mean, is there something that gets +1 based on how many artifacts you have? I don't know. I mean, there might be something that makes this worthwhile, but it seems absolutely useless to me. 4 mana. This is 2 Swamp and 2 of anything for a 6/6 Archfiend of the Dross. I like this. It's a Phyrexian demon. It is not legendary. It is flying. It enters the battlefield with 4 oil counters on it. The beginning of your upkeep, remove an oil counter from it. If it has no oil counters on it, you lose the game. Whenever a creature, an opponent dies, its controller loses 2 life. So this is a finisher, but if you can proliferate every turn, you just put an oil counter back on it. You get 4 turns to win with a 6/6 flyer. And worst case scenario, you kill it yourself. So I put this in my Orzhov Sacrifice deck. So I got Braids out on the battlefield. I attack with the Archfiend 2 or 3 turns in a row. I don't even have Proliferate. I'm doing flyer damage, or you keep throwing flyers out and I keep killing them off and you're surviving. Oh, it's got 1 counter left at that end of that turn. Braids sacrifices this. There are ways to avoid losing the game with it. I think this is going to be very strong. And what I just suggested is just the first thought because that's a deck I'm working on. Orzhov Sacrifice deck. It's one that I like playing. I can see that fitting in there. 4 mana for a 6/6 flyer. And it's at the beginning of your upkeep that you remove the counter, mind you. You remove a counter, it attacks and does 6/6. Remove another counter, attack, it does 6 more. Remove another counter, it attacks. You've done 18 damage with it. You have to do 2 more damage. And if you, once again, if you have Proliferate, put this in the Esper deck. I mean, it still dies to removal, but this is very strong. I don't think the oil counter things, you lose the game, is going to be as big of a deal as they thought it was. They've made too many ways to add the oil counters. Here's the thing. It enters with 4 oil counters. It doesn't say it can't have more than 4. You can throw it out for 4 oil counters, and then you can proliferate and put 1 on there, and there was that card that says every proliferation does 2. Boom. Before it's even attacked, it's got 6 oil counters on it. Maybe more. I think this is going to be really strong. I think lose the game is not going to be that active in it. Unless there is remove certain number of oil counters from a specific thing. If there's a card where you can remove X number of counters from a creature, that will make this thing a liability. So Vindictive Flamestoker, 1 red. It's a rare creature. It's a Phyrexian wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter on it for 6 and a red for 7 mana. 1 red and 6 mana. Sacrifice it, discard your hand, then draw 4 cards. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each oil counter on it. So the longer it stays out on the battlefield, the cheaper it is to sacrifice it and draw 4 cards. It's a 1/2 for 1 mana. That's already good. And it's got extras. Turn this out on turn 1. Maybe turn 2, you get a couple of these out there. I like it. I like it. I don't think it's going to break anything. I think it'll have a few uses, but it's a fair card. Evolved Spinoderm. All right, what do we got here? 2 green and 2 of anything. It's a Phyrexian beast. Evolved Spinoderm enters the battlefield with 4 oil counters, so another oil counter thing. It has trample as long as 2 or fewer oil counters on it. Otherwise, it has hexproof. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove an oil counter. Then if there's no oil counters, sacrifice it. 4 mana for a 5/5 that has hexproof at least for 2 turns. And then it has trample at 2 and 1 oil counters. And then if it has no oil counters, you sacrifice it. I mean, this is strong, especially with how easy it's going to be to put oil counters on it. So it's going to have hexproof. Like, as long as you can keep adding an oil counter to it every turn, it's a 5/5 with hexproof. That's strong. I don't think it breaks the game. I think it's, once again, it's just another mono-green stompy card. It's going to be hard. I mean, there's so many good mono-green stompy cards. It's going to be interesting to see what people do. Nora's Wellspring, 1 and a white for an artifact. Whenever a creature you control dies, scry 1 and put an oil counter on it. For 1 and tap it, you remove 2 oil counters from it and you draw a card. Oh god, this is great for the sack decks and going wide decks. My Orzhov Sacrifice, your Rabble Rousing decks, all of the decks where you're just throwing a bunch of tokens out, blocking with them. You got 5 or 6 creatures on the board, they wipe you. Let's say you got 5 creatures on the board, they wipe you. You scry 5 times, and you put 5 oil counters on it. Then for 1 mana and tapping it, you remove 2 of those and draw a card. So like 2 or 3 turns in a row, you're drawing cards from it. I like that it's tap and 1, so you can only draw a card once per cycle. That's good. I think this is a fair card. I like it. Plus with that, this one. Okay, in the sacrifice deck. Yes. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So you sacrifice 1 creature, you have Drivnod out there, and the well triggers twice. You scry 1, you put an oil counter on it, you scry 1, you put an oil counter on it, just from your sacrifice. Wellspring's going to be good. It's not going to break the game, it's just going to be a good 2 mana card. All these cards are so good. 3 mana, 1 blue and 2 of anything for an artifact equipment. Blade of Shared Souls. For Mirrodin, you got to scream for Mirrodin when it comes in. in the battlefield or you curse yourself, okay? For when it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 red rebel creature token and then attach it to it. So for 3 mana, you get a 2/2 and an artifact, and that creature can become a copy of another creature you control. That's all right. I don't think it's that great. There's better ways to get a 2/2 creature out there. I mean, you can copy some other creature. 3 mana, I don't think it's that great. Geth, Thane of Contracts. Other creatures you control get -1/-1. So it's 3 mana, 2 of them swamp for a 3/4. Phyrexian zombie, it's a legendary. All your creatures get -1/-1. I mean, that's pretty bad. But for 2 swamps and 1 random, 3 mana, and tapping it, you return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains, if it would leave the battlefield, exiled instead of putting it anywhere else. All your creatures getting -1/-1 is pretty bad. I don't think it's playable. It's not that hard to bring creatures back from the graveyard to the battlefield and they don't get exiled. So I just don't think it's that good. Slow Bad, the Iron Goblin, 3 mana, 1 of them red. It's a legendary creature. It's a Goblin Artificer, Phyrexian Goblin Artificer. Tap it, you sacrifice an artifact, add an amount of red mana equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. This is just going to make the Phyrexian portal decks give them more strength. It's 3 mana for a 3/3. It's already fair value there, and then you can sacrifice an artifact. There's already artifacts they want to sacrifice. I don't think it's really going to change the meta at all. Thrune, Breaker of Silence. 5 mana, 2 of them green, 3 random. So for 5 mana, it's a legendary Chol Shaman. That's a 5/5. This spell can't be countered. I do like this spell can't be countered. Those are words I like to see on a card, and it's another green creature that cannot be countered. It's got trample. It can't be the target of non-green spells your opponents control or abilities from non-green sources your opponents control. As long as it's your turn, it's indestructible. Oh god, mono green's going to be the king of monocolor decks again. This is game breaking. Can't counter the spell, and it can't be the target of non-green spells. When it's your turn, it has indestructible. You just don't block with it. I mean, how do you kill this thing? Wipes will still get it, but you can't directly remove this. That's insane. Black, white, blue. You can't Fading Hope it. No, it's got to be a wipe. It's got to be a wipe or a sacrifice. It's the only creature left. You got to kill the other creature off and then do a sacrifice spell to make it sacrifice. It's got to be sacrifice or a wipe. I have a feeling this is going to be really strong. But as long as it's your turn, it's indestructible. So you can attack with it every single turn, and you don't have to worry about the Wandering Emperor exiling it, because spells or abilities from non-green sources. So the Wandering Emperor cannot exile it when it's tapped. And then on your turn, it's indestructible again. Boom, it attacks. The only way is to wipe it or to create a bunch of tokens to keep blocking it every turn. Mono green Stompy is going to be strong. Kimba, Ka Enduring. It's a cat. They don't make enough cats, but it's a cleric. It might go in my cleric's deck. 2 mana, 1 of them white for a 2/2 creature. It's a legendary cat. Whenever it or another cat enters your battlefield, attach up to be 1 target equipment you control of the creature. Equipped creatures get +1/+1. It's absolute shit. There's not enough cats. Equipment decks are horrible. That's not even worth it. Unctus, Grand Meditect. 3 mana. 2 of them blue, 1 of them anything. Legendary artifact creature. It's a Phyrexian Vindicator. Whatever the hell that is. Vedalken. Other blue creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. Oh god, every creature that attacks, you draw a card, then discard a card. Other artifact creatures get +1/+1, so it's an artifact deck creature. Okay, so for 1 blue, or you flog yourself until the end of turn, target creature you control becomes a blue artifact in addition to its other colors and type. It's useless. Other than you turn it into an artifact and it gets +1/+1, but you can only do it as a sorcery, so you can't trick people with it. I don't think it's going to get any play. Blue doesn't play creatures. Let's just be honest. Other blue creatures get +1/+1. You're not going to make mono blue creature decks. This doesn't happen.